Okay, great.
Pardon?
I said there was the the robotic Chinese woman that said that the meeting's being recorded.
Okay. And please, can everyone send pics to Trevor, which really also means I get to take a pic, which I love to do.
Yep, we will record the happening.
Okay. Okay, everybody.
All right, Stace. Well, I'll send you the video.
Okay.
I gotta send it to Maureen too.
Okay. See you guys later.
Okay. Bye.
So is this Lautrec?
Yes. Yeah. It's so
Nice.
the theme of the class. The theme of the intro, at least, was how photography kind of seeped its way into post-impressionism, not in a negative way, in a very matter of fact and kind of festive way. It wasn't any kind of like replacement. And I would love to hear some discussions about photography and how people felt about it. But it was another medium that was like really that there's this one letter. I can show you a couple of the things. We didn't get to draw this last week, did we?
No, last week we were working on the
archaic man,
the statue. Yeah.
Well, I got so wrapped up in that piece last week that the whole point of it was to draw this little really delicate piece of fabric.
Oh, that's right.
I thought this week we could do just literally make it a warm up. Not like try to save the world here, but just it's a little bit of a tongue twister. It's a little bit of a artistic tongue twister in that it's like not particularly complicated, but you have to kind of keep things straight in your head. And I have drawn both of them, and it's very subtle, and it's also not hard, but like I said, if you can keep the top fabric in your mind separated from the under fabric, and then you have skin. So you have the top, which folds over itself and exposes the underside, and then it makes these like little prisms, these little folded prisms, and it kind of goes. It's just a really elegant design, and very formal. If a person was standing there, I mean, if I feel like if it's almost like a mannequin where you'd have a fashion designer, stitching it on a mannequin, and then it would be there perfect for the photo, but like as soon as you started moving, it would go out of place. Would you guys be up for this little warm up first?
Yeah. Yes, sure.
And then we'll switch over to the Lautrec. There's a bunch of fabric in the Lautrec, in the bustle of their dresses, and this should prove useful for that part of it, at least.
Are we supposed to be seeing your screen? Because I'm not seeing your tabletop. Adele, are you?
Oh, right. You don't see anything. All right, that's great.
I see the picture on the left and your empty paper on the right.
Oh, you do?
Okay, so what do I need to do?
I thought maybe I didn't do the screen share.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I went to go screen share and it says stop share. And then I have we'll look at a bunch of photos and how Lautrec used the photo for the photography's sake, and then how it was probably incorporated. He used it as actually a painting assist, painting assist. It's a much larger discussion, how Degas used it, how how Monet did not use it, and I mean it's a big long discussion. For Thomas Eakins, which is at a similar period in America, was using and experimenting with photography. Lautrec saw it more just like playful, as another means of handling the model. Anyway, so we'll get to that, and I also have a little video just to put Toulouse-Lautrec in context. There's like 2 or 3 things in there that I hadn't. It's just a nice thread. It's like a 4-minute video on YouTube that just ties it all together, and it's like 4 minutes. It's amazing how much these It's from the National Gallery, and I'm actually not sure whether I think it's the National Gallery in London. It is amazing just how much information can be packed into a 4-minute window. It blew my mind. All right, so I guess we're recording. I guess we'll kind of wait. Oh, let me get my oh yeah, I'm just gonna plug in my computer. Plug in the computer, and then it might just be us. I think the only other person we're waiting for is Stephanie, and she's usually here by now. So I'll keep my eye out for Stephanie. Let's see, Maureen can't make it, so I'm gonna send her the video, and then obviously Stacy just can't make it. So all right, so the way that I started this piece was to go in this little fold. See how it makes like this little T shape? I'm gonna see if I can put this in the right spot. And the edge, I made a wobbly line. So there's like a little, there could be like a little bit of a lace. There's like kind of a, there's just the edge of the hem, whether it's a hem, I don't know. It's defined by the rippling line. You know, the bottom of that is defined by the rippling line. And there's a way that he allows the corner to turn. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is the straight part. Now the lines don't actually connect. So we're going to pretend that this finger is not there. So this is the top portion. And I actually took a little bit of tone with the Victorian. You know, this is for the kids. And I shaded the top of this piece of fabric because it's about to turn under itself. And it gets a wobbly line. There's a disconnect between our original horizontal and the underside. So there's really only two lines. There's the crisp folded edge, and then there's the wobbly, you know, hem. And they, you know, it goes from straight edge into wobble, and then, you know, you follow the opening of this fabric, you know, the right side and the left side, and then it turns the corner here and angles out to create our prism. And this one, just for our purposes, I mean, I'm going to say that it doesn't connect. So the top, you know, the peak of the wobble into the prism, you know, the edge, the crisp folded edge does not connect right here, but it really doesn't. But that straight line edge of the length of the prism bends and turns into our wobbling line. And then we come in a little bit. And then it turns, that's the crisp edge. And then it turns the corner. And then there's this side, and we're going to repeat it. And that's the other interesting notion about this design, is that it's the same thing repeated over and over again. The difference is the middle is a little different. You know, once you get that, it's almost hard to start with that one because it's different than the other ones. And there's 1, 2, 3 prisms. And just to keep it straight, you have a straight crisp edge, and then that turns the corner into the wobble of the hem. Then we get the inside edge again, the base of that prism, and then it turns the corner and wobbles out from, you know, being the right side of that prism. Then you have the length come down, turns the corner into a wiggle that gives you the far side prism. And you get the base of that inside, and then finally that turns into the edge of the fabric. So keeping that straight. And the other interesting thing, we're going to be able, this is the other unique part, I think, of why this is such a helpful drawing for the Lautrec, is that we're going to find later Lautrec draws the lines. He he does the painting, and in his litho, in the final piece, like the way he draws the shape of these, almost like a painted stroke. My theory is that he does the painting, you know, and I think he paints it off of a photograph, believe it or not, the composition. And then from the paint, he draws for the lithograph, for the actual poster, he draws his paint strokes. That's like my theory. Anyway, the what we're doing here is that there is a little bit of the inside, you know, the underplane. So this line is actually showing that there's a little teeny cavity that's underneath, you know, that you can go into, you can go up underneath this prism. You can go into that cave. Here you can go under, and it's just the lightest delicate line that gets faded into the underside. So the line is an edge separating the fabric. The wobble is the fabric, but the line is the shadow and the cavity underneath it. And of course, this is you know, a gouge. You know, this is a carved line, and it creates that little overhang. So in a way, the concept of the fabric is what I just described, and then what we're literally drawing is a ridge, and that is an underplane. It's an underplane line to define that fabric, and it happens both, you know, wherever there's an underplane, and it angles towards the ground. And it's how he gets his lines. That's how the lines are able to stand out. And the deeper the gouge, the more angled to the ground it is, the darker the line. And the side plane lines are probably not as light because they aren't casting as intense of a shadow. The space between the folds is, in fact, the leg. That's his leg. So this sculpture, as you guys remember, was painted at one point, and that would have been an interesting, very interesting to see how that artist, the archaic artist, you know, defined it. Now, this whole thing, I stretched it out. I mean, it's just but the concept is the same. That's what's so interesting. This is not a proportional, it's not really a proportional exercise. It's more of like this, you know, having the discipline to follow the line edge and then not, and kind of intentionally not connecting them. The whole thing is, you know, a series of broken lines, but they, you know, the straight edge turns the corner into the fold, and then the edge turns the corner, angles down in. Very subtle line work. And I don't know, I'm not trying to, just the lines are so confident. They're so, I mean, he really, it's almost like you don't have to, there was a, you don't have to do things super fancy, but they're done so well. I mean, they're just so well executed. And how he solved this problem in this low relief sculpture, creating a seemingly transparent, you know, such a delicate fabric. I mean, he's working in stone, which allows you to go more subtle because the material is so hard, so you can make lighter lines. But I mean, even with, I mean, I kind of intentionally made my lines a little bit darker, but it's so brutish, and I feel like I have a very delicate drawing, and it's brutal, you know, compared to how delicate his drawing is.
No, but yours is
Okay.
very nice.
What's that?
Yours is very nice.
Oh, thank you. And this one, I have to admit, it's, you know, the third time's a charm. That's why I wanted to. Sometimes I use you guys' as guinea pigs for experimental classes, and I know you appreciate that because it becomes exciting when we make discoveries. But it's also nice to have the problem have been solved, and so there's not very many blind spots, and it becomes a joy. I mean, this is not this guy's first bas relief sculpture, I can tell you that. In fact, I was going to say it earlier. I mean, I imagine that this guy, and I have no reason to believe, I have no proof. They don't know anything, but we know who the sculptor is. But I happen to think that this was done, by an older fella. There's just a sensitivity, a respect, a mastery. That I think just comes with having, created a lot of art over a long period of time. Yeah, and these lines, even in the lengths of the prisms, the edge gets blended into the background so that the top fold can be ever so slightly lighter than the bottom fold. And I can use, we just got a bunch of kneaded erasers at the school, but you can let the plastic eraser, you can pull lines up lightly with our plastic erasers. It's not as clean, but I'm just kind of comparing my line weight, and all of these side planes are really delicate. And I want to get that line weight, just to even prove it to myself that I can tell the difference. And I think in the long run, considering even if in a different lighting arrangement, these lines would be, would show deeper line work, if the sun was on the left side or whatever. The light is coming from the right. So that's why these left side ridges are darker. And the right side ridges are much, more faint. And that is a-okay. I know we started late, but this is we're finished. I'm sure you guys are done too, but that is a true warm up of just a 15-minute, 15-minute little tongue twister, visual tongue twister.
Really. Once you get the pattern.
Yeah, once you get it, you can't. It's very comforting, but it can still throw. You can get it and then lose it, and then get it and then lose it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I erased some of my lines to soften them, and then I'm also blending them to soften them. Some of the references to the hand was really pretty. Let me show you the other design. Oh wait, let's see. Did I go this way? Yeah, this was the other one. This is on the shoulder. The one we just sketched was on the thigh, and then this one is on the shoulder. And this was an interesting one too. You can see the V. There's this steep V for the thigh, and then there's this gradual, almost like curtains. It's much lower, much curvier arrangement, and then all of these lines, are radiating from a point, just off screen. So you can link all these folds together off of the central axis that would be coming off screen. It's a nice one. And this one has that same light source on the hand. So you get light fingers up against a dark background. And see, so he did that so cleverly. And there's just certain things that we couldn't do last week because we only had so much time. But see the roll? There's a concave, trough that's etched in that gives you the depth for, both the staff and the fingers. So look how aggressively how light the fingers are up against that roll of the lip of the frame of the stone carving. So the hand is really able to pop out, and then the back edge has such a fine line. Yeah, that was really nice spending time at that period. That was one of the first real explorations of archaic art that I either taught a lesson on or has spent more than just a superficial walkthrough. I completely the period is so overshadowed by just the grandiose movements of classical Greek sculpture and art. But that's such an underestimatedly beautiful time in Western art history. I guess there's a couple more that could fit on here. And the upcoming Lautrec piece, I think we can analyze it, but I think it would be fun to I thought it would be fun to almost just, the problem is we don't have that great of a reproduction. The photo of the scene, the troupe, the picture is really faded, so it's a little bit hard to use it to create an original piece. But I was thinking maybe, if we were given just the photo and the idea of the commission to make a poster for this dance team. The poster that we're analyzing was a poster for this French dance troupe led by Jane Averill, to go to London and perform. And the word is that there was a big buildup about this, how provocative the dancers were, and then once they got to London, everyone was disappointed because they weren't quite as over the top as they had originally anticipated. So yeah, Lautrec knew all these people, and we're friends with them. Want me to play the video while you guys are finishing this up?
Yeah. Sounds good.
I'll restart the share. The beginning, for some reason, starts off a little pixelated, and then it goes to like normal resolution. And it's 4 minutes, I think.
This is
Almost
Montmartre in Paris, a place of steep and cobbled streets, a district full of character and charm. It's one of the most popular places in the whole of Paris. And it's here that the French artist Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec made his name. At the end of the 19th century, Montmartre was an exciting place. New technologies and political change were transforming everyday life. The entertainment industry was in full swing, with the opening of numerous cafe concerts, cabarets and theatres. Even windmills were transformed into concert halls. Artists, writers, performers and philosophers came to exchange ideas and break the rules. Toulouse-Lautrec was part of this. He used his posters and paintings not just to challenge what art could do, but also as a visual record of this exuberant era. He was born into a wealthy aristocratic family in southern central France in 1864. Suffering from a genetic condition that stunted his growth and restricted his ability to participate in physical activities, Toulouse-Lautrec directed his energy into painting and drawing, developing a distinct and
So his father was like, they were a long bloodline, a very prestigious line, and had generations of basically royal wealth to live on. And his father basically traveled the world, hunting, hawking, falconry, and fox hunting, and just getting into adventures. So he wanted, when he had a son, he wanted to like bring him along, and it was a very Lautrec broke his, he had basically his parents were first cousins, and so he had some kind of disease, and it was all to keep the kind of the money in the family, is how I understand it. And he broke both of his thighs. One, I think one was a riding incident, and then one he like fell or something. And he was, for the better part of a year, when he was going, basically right before adolescence, he was around like 10. He had these two horrible injuries, and he may have not even had, proper bone development at the time because of the genetic, ailments. And then so he was kind of, in a way, very alpha, and was set up to have this like really exciting life, and then it just got sidetracked. Like, I guess the Lord had different plans for him, and he was definitely a little bit of a disappointment. Like, his father, he loved his, they had a good relationship, but they were just all the things that his dad wanted to do with him, he was unable to do. But they did share art. And so that's how that went. I mean, it's amazing. Like, there's, obviously everybody's life story can't be condensed into 5 minutes. But it was a way bigger letdown, than maybe even being part of a different family, because of how many resources and how exciting and how sportsman of a life he could have led, and was, he loved riding horses, and he was super talented. That's the other thing. He was this like unbelievably talented, gifted, and capable person, and then he got trapped into this body, that basically forced all this energy into the art. And thank goodness it did. Okay.
fluid style. In 1882, he moved to Paris to further his training as an artist, settling in the colourful district of Montmartre. There, he became close friends with radical young artists like Vincent van Gogh and Émile Bernard. Around them, Parisian society was embracing a new, more liberal attitude, and Toulouse-Lautrec and his fellow artists immersed themselves in the inspiring vibrancy of Montmartre life. Unlike the Impressionists, who gravitated towards scenes of upper-middle-class leisure, Toulouse-Lautrec preferred to depict the new urban nightlife. He could be found every night drinking and sketching at his favourite venues, the Moulin Rouge, the Château Noir, and the Mirliton. The famous faces there became his friends, and these recognisable characters populated his work. In the 1890s, technological advances in lithography were being pioneered by a number of Paris-based artists. It was the perfect medium for advertising. Desperate to attract new and larger audiences, the owners of the cabarets and concert halls were commissioning posters from artists such as Pierre Bonnard, Steinlen, and Jules Chéret. Toulouse-Lautrec created a poster for the Moulin Rouge. His bold, fresh design made him an overnight success and one of the most sought-after designers. Over the next decade, Toulouse-Lautrec advertised numerous venues, promoting the performers, enhancing their careers, and creating a culture of celebrity in Montmartre. But he also painted the quieter, unseen humanity of these different characters. He loved his subjects, lived with them, and depicted them without judgment, a sympathy that perhaps came from his own sense of being an outsider due to his physical limitations. You can see his humane, realistic treatment of women who worked and lived in Montmartre in roles that society had traditionally frowned upon, such as sex workers and cabaret performers. He gives an honest depiction of their lives behind the scenes. His subjects are not miserable in the way that Degas had sometimes depicted them, but neither are they happy or idealized. He leaves us with the naturalness of their lives. Even today, Toulouse-Lautrec's enduring legacy is visible in Montmartre. His posters and paintings remain immensely popular, and they continue to influence. Toulouse-Lautrec died in 1901, aged only 36, but his art and the people depicted in his art continue to draw us back to this unique and inspiring part of Paris.
There it is. That is a that's a once over.
It's interesting.
You guys-
I didn't realize
Yeah,
his
what's
background
new?
was.
Yeah, I thought he had a congenital problem, but it looks like he actually had accidents that caused his handicap.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both, and I'm not sure if they. I mean, I'm sure they could figure it out today.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I like how she explained that he depicted the naturalness of the people. They were not posing. They were just in their natural, you would just catch them.
And they did, they did like, sit for him. I mean, they were like in a traditional, they would come to the studio and sit, but then he would sketch in real life, all the time. And that's kind of what his reputation was, to go out and, everyone would be performing and dancing and drinking, and he'd be, doing the same thing, but with his sketch pad, drawing. And he did that since he was a really young kid. I mean, we've gone over some of the Lautrec sketchbooks and stuff before he actually went to Paris and, made it, went into, Cormon's studio. There's a lecture series I would like to offer next year, about Van Gogh's letters to Bernard. There is the Bernard letters. I read a number of them when I was, years ago, and there's just all the paintings and all the artists that they're referring to. You can search them instantly, and you can find out all, most of them. I knew most of them, but there's a couple obscure painters that that they were friends with or whatever, that never actually made it into like the normal, 19th century French lexicon. And you can find all those people, and you can find all those paintings, and you can, when he's referring to his own paintings, there's a catalog. I just was reading, and so Bernard, I guess it's called, Anqueton, Lautrec, Van Gogh, they were all friends and, stayed in contact. And I haven't found any letters to Lautrec yet. I know they're in there. But to, to hear Van Gogh, like I just read this letter last night. He actually wrote to Theo, and I've been searching for references to Lautrec for this class, and I haven't found a name in it. There's a massive volume, and I even Googled it. But I guess during Van Gogh got sick or something, and then he was away from his studio, and there was a flood, and he was writing about how, like, not only did the paintings get destroyed, but so did the studies, the preparatory sketches for them. And he was saying how it was some of his best work, and I was just like, oh my
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
I know, what it was just a crazy tragedy. And a lot of these guys are, tragic. We'll go through some of the photos in this book for Lautrec, and he he just got worn out. I mean, the guy was just, he just partied too hard, and his health just wasn't, you know, I don't know. It is sad how these guys, you know, pushed it so hard.
Did she say that his father was involved in art as well?
He was like an amateur connoisseur. He was a connoisseur, which
Mhm.
is how, you know, most, like a lot of, you know, I think French society is, from what I can tell, society in general would, you know, he would, I think he did paint. I think he did teach him how to draw, but he got him, you know, it'd be, and it'd be so interesting because we'd have to go to the museum. I'm sure there's a Lautrec museum um, in Toulouse that you can go to that I have not yet been to. So I would like to do, and it's in like it's in the south. I think Toulouse is further south, but you can do like a Lautrec and Van Gogh tour. And I would really love to do that someday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Let's look at so I think I have a couple in the phone actually. Let's see if I can just, okay, so yeah, this is a this is gonna be fun. All right, so that's a Lautrec piece, and then, sorry, I guess this is where it technically starts. So this is a photo that he played with. So, you know, when I was talking about playing with photography, he always had a good sense of humor. I think he was like kind of known for just being a good, you know, being a good time. And so he's, you know, seated as the sitter for the portrait, and then he's painting his own portrait just with like the double exposure. So I mean, you know, this type of like you know, manipulation of the camera, but you can see how little of a guy he is.
Mhm.
And you know, if you look at the distance from his hips to his knee,
Mm.
it is definitely short. I mean, that's a profile view. So he had like a relatively normal sized torso, you know, with like with these little legs. That's him with his uncle towards the end on this boat. But then this is this little painting that he made. So if you look at it, it's almost exactly reversed. You see the guy in the boat with the oars, and then the little man, you know, standing up. That's Lautrec, obviously, but then this is his interpretation of it. And if you look at the angle of the boat, I think if I should have reversed it. So I guess they could probably be printed different ways, but the angle of the boat is almost exactly the same. And you know, the figure in the boat is painted representationally. The oars are almost at the exact same angle. And then he puts on the back of the boat. Oh, I should have done it this way. Here we go. So there's a hawk at the back of this boat right here. You see it? So there's
Yeah.
actually a hooded falcon, and then this guy's got a fishing net, and this guy's looks like he's running the oars, and then there's this little teeny man standing up, you know, on the side of the boat as a self-portrait. I wonder what the name of the boat is. Oh, it's too hard to read.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this little slide lecture is just him playing with photography and having it be, you know, a component to you know, executing his pictures. There's no horizon line. It's interesting how you put you can almost tell what's, you know, invented versus, you know, what's observed, just with how it's, you know, how it's treated. You know, this guy is invented with this net, and then this oar and this figure he had a reference for. You know, he had a reference for the boat and for the reflection in the boat, whereas he didn't have a reference for what's in the background. You can almost feel you know, and this happens all the time. There's nothing wrong with invention, you know, drawing from imagination, and there's nothing wrong with observing. It's a delicate trick bringing them both together harmoniously. And you know, I mean, he does it fine. I think it's by not overdoing the imaginary parts, but all the weakest parts of the picture are the ones that he, you know, that he invented, and the strongest parts of the picture in terms of how they're painted are the ones that, you know, had the photo reference, which I think is interesting. So here's this. This was a deaf woman. I want to figure out how I can get that. Can you guys see that well enough?
Yeah, yeah.
Zoom in on her. What if I turned it sideways and then zoomed in on our face? Also, this is, you know, totally an experiment with the autofocus of the camera. Okay, that helped. I mean, I'm just like obsessed with this hat. I didn't realize that it was
All the colors in the background,
I know, the colors are out of control.
the blues and the pinks.
It's so pretty.
And look how transparent the fabric of her dress is. How did he get that?
Oh,
Wow.
those
Yeah, you're right.
blues.
I mean, you know that it's gauzy material. How did, you know?
Yeah.
And then then he was also famous for his hands. Look at those hands, both of them together.
Yeah.
And this is such a crappy photo. I didn't realize that this was a, you know, see how the background letters on there? Even so,
Oh,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
you can still look past it. But
Sure.
look at the treatment of those two fingers, you know, being straight, and then those two off to the side. He just loved them. He just loved them. And let me go up to these ears, because I think, you know, he really suffered. Not suffered. I don't mean that. I mean, like, he struggled with ears. It's like he never fully resolved them, and you can tell. I mean, you can so tell with the way he treated this ear. He mastered everything. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, the nature, and it's so bizarre that he never got it. It's like he never actually got it, even though his hands are second to none. I can't think of anybody else who paints hands as well and as sensitively and as virtuously.
Very expressive.
Look at that angle. Look at that block of her wrist. So expressive. I mean, after the face. So this woman was deaf, and I'm wondering if even like, I don't know if there was like, I'm just envisioning, you know, like the communication through sign language, and you know, I think he would treat everybody's hands this, you know, really. Let's see if there's another version. Okay, so this is the good part. This is the photo of them making this painting
Oh,
together. So you can see, you know, you can see the hat, the brim. You can see her hands coming out. You can see the scale. You can see the trees in the background. You can see his paint
Yeah.
box, and you know she's taking the pose.
But it's life size.
Pretty close. I would say it's like three quarter or 3/4. Yeah.
I love how he's painted in his suit.
In his suit.
And I don't know, and that's the thing. I don't know if he painted in his suit all the time, but definitely for the photo, for the photo op, he is. And he's got his umbrella. Look at the little umbrella up here.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I think this was at his, you know, family home. I think this is in Toulouse.
How long do you think it took him to
Down
complete?
here. Oh, look at this! Look at his little can. His solvent can. That hasn't changed in 150 years. It's so good. I never noticed that one before. He has a little easel and his paint rags. What was that, Grace?
Wondering how long a sitting would take with him, days or hours or.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Probably, I mean, probably multiple sittings. I mean, I'm sure he could have, I'm sure this was like multiple sittings. I mean, we can go back, if I go back to the painting, you know, he really, it's built up, you know, there's a lot of attention given to that hat. You know, I mean, I don't think it took, I mean, you have to, it's so hard to say. It's just like a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
I love that lace.
Yeah. It's sheer. You can tell it's sheer. You're right.
All right, so there's this guy. And then this is the image that comes from my, and I can't, let me try to, will you guys give me 2 seconds on the camera I'm gonna see if I can put this other extender in. I think it'll help. Don't get seasick.
I know.
It's just dangling. It's dangling on the thing, just like going back and forth. Okay. Oh, not that tight.
Be right back.
This is so funny. I mean, this is truly an improvement. I mean, unbelievable.
That's good.
Yeah. This way. I'll drop this down a little bit. Oh, you stay put. Put this down. Oh, that's right. It still feels like it's a little distorted, doesn't it?
Not really. You mean out of focus? Or
Yeah. It's out of focus. I wonder if we're too. Oh, there it goes.
that's good.
That's
Oh,
really
that's
good.
good.
All right, so I saved the right one. Yeah, that's great. All right, good. We got it working. All right, so we'll wait for Adele to come back and then we'll proceed.
I've been having a little trouble with this, the Greek soldier statue, doing it with chalk on my colored paper because I'm having trouble defining the areas that are in shadow and the areas that aren't. Because I think I have two pictures of it, and one the shadow's coming from the left, one the shadow's coming from the right.
Right. And the
I remember we talked about that, but
the thing is that you just have to, it will, you can choose for any part of the picture, you can
Yeah.
choose either any angle. It's just you can't choose this, you can't take this, you can't try to do both. So
Yeah.
for any part of the picture, so even like a separation between nose and eye,
yeah,
you could make the nose from one perspective, the eye from another. You just can't make the eye from both. You can't use the two references for one part.
yeah,
And you can strategically, I mean, I think for the most part, I'd say like 7 out of 10 will be ideal from one angle, maybe even 9 out of 10. And then there'll be that one component that might be helpful from the other lighting arrangement.
yeah.
But you
Yeah,
have to be
I'm having trouble with
you
that.
have to be a little decisive about it. Okay. Adele, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry. God.
It's okay. No, I mean, I knew this picture was cool, but I just totally fell in love with it because of the paint box and the little like that very simple easel. It's a relatively simple setup, and I think, and he's working on a panel. Does it look like? Do you think he's painting on a panel? It looks like it's very thin. It doesn't have very many stretchers.
It
So,
doesn't. It looks very thin and it's almost warped.
yeah. Yeah, not even almost warped. I think it does have a bend.
It does.
And there's, it's just like when you look at apparently Victorian homes were actually very colorful, but they're seen in they can only be photographed in black and white, and this is kind of the same thing. Focus. I mean, these colors are just so magical, and they're and so bold. And then you look, if you were only to see this, you could almost imagine that it was just painted in black and white, because you wouldn't know the difference if you hadn't seen the original painting, if the original painting hadn't survived. And I think that apparently that happened, that these ideas of like white houses, like very muted neutral colors, that happened in like the middle of the 20th century, because they were basing them off of memories that had gone by from the Victorian era and the colorfulness of the homes. Okay, so here's our girls, and this is actually really fun. So we're gonna have to kind of go back and forth between the what was intended by the photographer, and then also what was intended by Lautrec in his poster. So I think that I can move up slightly. Hold on, let me move this. I figured it out. So I can adjust up and down on this support arm. Maybe not very far. Huh. Is it this one? Why won't this go up higher? Oh, here it goes. Okay. Yeah, I want to be able to see all of it. So that's good. We can see the whole picture. All right, so there's a couple design elements that I just want to point out the photo and look at what is so fun about this picture. What am I talking about? Did it drop down again? Okay. Make sure all of it's in there. All right, so unfortunately, it's letting in all this extra light. What if I block? What if I dim this light? There it goes. That's better.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that if you look at the poster, Well, let's just point out a couple elements. One, you have this beautifully silhouetted dark shoe and sock up against these light ruffles. And you also have her foot on this side. So now this girl's leg is up. This, first girl, standing on one leg, you can't even see it. She's kicking up her right leg. This girl's second girl kicking up her right leg, just not quite as high. So this is up, down, and then there's one here that gets lost in the shadow. They're all doing the same move, kind of in unison, but they're not really in unison. And however many times they were able to take this photo, who knows? Maybe they had to like hold their leg up rather than actually kick and then snap at that moment, because that's not how these photos would work. Early photos, you have to like hold the position.
Right.
So whatever. The photographer had his arrangement. This picture, this woman here who's facing us directly, that's Jane Averill. And she was like the lead. She was like the principal dancer. And he did a number of other posters of just her. And I think that this is my interpretation. So she's got the dominant vertical. She's the dominant vertical element. You actually see her foot, and she's facing us directly. All these other girls in a row, they're kind of 3/4. So if you were to think about painting, you have like a hierarchy where, the person that looks straight at you, and, is doing like, is like the largest, facing figure, would be the principal element. And then these three girls are supporting cast. They're all in the same position. So the fact that they're repeated lumps them together as one, and then she's kind of standing out. Now, that's my interpretation based on based on what I would see from this photograph, and knowing about the performers. They all have these three beautiful hats. So when we have like theme and variation, the theme is going to be they're kicking up their legs. The theme is that they've got these big bustly dresses, so you can see all the all the ruffles underneath. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of movement. They've got these all of them are wearing these big floral hats, and then they're three beautiful women that have their hair up. Jane has her hair down, I believe, in a ponytail. Also, there's like these collars that can't really be seen that well from this view. I mean, it's an old photo. It's washed out. There's all this information that's lost, in here. You can see this woman's arm, shoulder to elbow, big ruffled shoulder pad, not shoulder pads, but that sleeve, that upper sleeve, shoulder to elbow, and then elbow to wrist. You can see her hand, really clearly lifting up, holding her dress on this side. As far as hands go, I think there's a hand in here. I think I can't see any of Jane's hands, but you can see there's like this constant flow of dress. It's one big dress, and then the legs are kind of in this sea of movement and ruffle. The feet are are what kind of define the human element in all of this kind of like movement and chaos, and then also the faces. All right, so that's this photo, but I have to, I mean, it took me a while to think about this, that these three are really truly supporting casts, and then Jane is the principal dancer. Now, what they should have done, in my opinion, and I'm maybe being presumptuous here, but Jane should have been in this front right-hand corner, the largest, and then these three dancers should have been in this back corner, moving, from small to large. By this arrangement, these are on the right, she's in the back. She becomes the smallest element, even though she's the principal dancer. And then this girl here is the largest, and kind of almost like takes over because of all of the the area of highest contrast with her right leg. Her leg, darkest dark, lightest light, most amount of ruffles, most amount of movement, because it's the largest. If you look harder, Jane's dress is actually better, and you can actually see more. And I think there's even more activity happening, in and around her. So these three get lumped together, but then Jane is just almost lost in the background. So let's look at the, why did I do that? This was in the wrong order, I apologize. Oh, that's too bad. It's not too bad. That's great, but wonder why she's getting washed out. Maybe I have to dim the photo even further. So this was the he wrote a letter to one of his buddies about this girl. He was like, you remember Helene? She, she posed for me a couple years ago. She's grown up and she's absolutely beautiful now. And I'm doing a portrait of her. So this is, he wrote this to his friend who had a camera, and he was like, can you come by and take a photo of her? Because I'd love to have the photo. And then this is the painting. Anyway, so the painting, that's what's so interesting about the letters, that the painting came first and the photo came second. So the painting actually inspired the photo, not the other way around, which is what we usually, the way we usually think about it. And he's just in his studio, she's sitting on that chair. This chair is like, shows up a lot, this wicker chair. It's in the studio, and you can actually see the paintings, lined up against the wall in the background. So she did come and sit, just because she was a specimen of beauty, that she wasn't like a dancer or anything like that. Like these were kind of the quiet studio moments. She's just like reading in there. And then she's she's all hunched over, and he wanted to get the profile. So that's what he was kind of like, going for. I wonder how he did on her ear. Yeah, totally wrong and totally weak. I love it. I love it. He can't be perfect, but I mean, if you look at the profile of her face, really just stunning. Look at that aggressive line he lives with on the top portion of the lip. Yeah, got to know the rules before you can break them. Beautiful lower eyelid here. You can see that shelf and then her dark eyelashes. I think you probably liked the. Let's see closer up. Yeah, I mean she did have this kind of like, the upper lip, the angle from her upper lip to lower lip is really steep, and then the from her forehead running directly into the keystone. He's called it a Grecian profile, and that's those are the characteristics. This very rounded chin, this like rounded lower lip with that steep angle, like almost like a pout, the upper lip, like pulling this upper lip out, and then a very rounded, bold jaw, and then the forehead leaning in. It's Athena. I mean, that is Athena.
Absolutely, it's very, very Grecian.
Yeah, and that's what he writes it in the letter. He's like it's unbelievable.
Did he
And so
capture that in the painting? The nose.
It's more of a 3/4 view and very Billie Eilish eyelashes. Kind of bold. I mean, I think it does go. I mean, look at the size of that keystone and like the minimal transition. I mean, he does get that eyebrow on the other side, but he softens her chin definitely, and this is an amazing little elbow there on that jawline.
Yeah, nice. So her ear is okay, right?
I mean, like I don't know. I mean, look at the awkwardness of the tragus. I mean, and it's really ambiguous. Like I'm not seeing like a tragus and into the antitragus, and I have no idea like what is happening from the helix as it comes up. Then the inside of the ear is just totally ambiguous, and it looks like there's this huge cavity in here, and then this hair kind of comes across. There was what I'm saying is that even from this photo, she has beautiful ears, and there's a look at the delicate tragus, and then
So
it
he just
transitions
chose to
here,
cover it with hair.
Get a bold, but like look at the rate, like how bold her earlobe is, and beautiful her earlobe is, and then you have the Y that gives you this really intense curve in here, and a gorgeous helix coming down this little nut. There's a little transition from the helix coming down, leading down into. I mean, there's just, if he knew what to look for, and the connection between the tragus and then where this little gap, this little trough, where the helix begins. Yeah, and then that little S curve that runs through it. I mean, the photographer at least got that, and and Lautrec completely missed it. I mean, completely missed. Like, look at her earlobe. It's not really it's not that nice of a shape, and it awkwardly transitions into the tragus. The tragus should be higher, the earlobe should be bolder, and then there's the ear is beautiful. I mean, like, it's not that he took a shot. Like, this is the thing, like, if you look at the forehead here, and the brow ridge, he knew what he was doing. Like, he took a shot, he made it, he knew what to look for, and he made his expression of it. And I'm not saying, and of course he's not using the photo, so the photo is at a completely different angle, but she does look like, I mean, her eyebrows, show up in the photo. You know what I mean? If you see how washed out everything else is, like, the fact that her eyebrows, did show up means that they were really bold. And he must have just loved that, her upper lip and the separation. You don't get the color transition between her, like, the lip skin versus the, like, the regular skin. But in this photo, the most beautiful element that's displayed is the ear. I mean, it's obviously an idealized angle, and the lighting is there. I mean, the profile is beautiful, but, like, some of the lighting for the features of the nostrils, are not ideal. Maybe the chin, you could say the chin is ideal, but I mean, it looks like he even, like, extended. You see how close this is right there? I mean, look at the distance between the rounded part of her chin and then the jaw line. Like, see how narrow this is. And even if she were to turn her face towards us a little bit to give you the same angle that Lautrec did, he really gives her more. More. He pushes this ear way far back, to the point where it almost feels like it's the ear itself isn't even accurately placed. The ear is probably higher, and closer and further in. And notice how quiet the ear is, because it's probably misplaced, and he's like, yeah, that's not good. So you can't, and I understand as a painter why you would want attention to be given to the eyes, nose, and mouth. I mean, obviously that's what you would want, but there's a difference between being more subtle with a perfectly formed ear and let it not be as loud, but have it be correct, than having it be hidden and obscured because you're wrong, or you're not confident with it. And, just like, yeah. And that, I mean, I don't even know what kind of anatomy this is. You get the cheekbone in here, and then, this whole jawline. And I don't know why he would have, I don't know if it benefits the picture by putting the ear in that position.
It makes her look older. Don't you
What's
think?
that?
He made her look older.
Yes. No, he definitely did. And I think that was part of it's interesting, and whether it was intentional or unintentional, I think he saw her as being old. I mean, he painted her when she was a child, and then she kind of grew up, and I think in his own mind he probably he was, like, kind of fascinated by seeing how she developed into a beautiful young woman. And maybe he made her feel seem a little older because that's how he was perceiving her. I don't know. That would make sense.
Nice.
Or he just did it by accident because he made her jawline more defined and larger. You know what I mean? Like, you get the older you are, the more defined your characteristics are, and the larger you get. You just that's how you read age. Age is interpreted intuitively through and you can control it by making pudgier, softer, smaller for younger, and then larger, more well-defined, edgier for the older you get. I mean, the older you get, the more rigid your lines are, both men and women. So and I think the the age has to do with the scale of the head, the size of the head, by moving this ear way back, and then also the definition, the facial definition. I mean, I'd stand by that for sure. And and then yeah, it's interesting because I think he worked with her for a while, so she may have even actually been younger during this photo and then been even older 4 years later. All right, here's the really cool one. So this is the one I mean I might even I had a very difficult time finding this. I know I have it in one of my books. I think I have a color version of this. And let me zoom out so I can move the photo next to these three. Okay, so now this is good. Now we're going to be able to fluidly transition from our photo reference, which is what I think he used, to the painting sketch, to now this one is another anomaly. Zoom in. This was I found this in my search, just my image search for the actual painting, and this one supports my. This was like a hand. It was for printing, but it was a hand-drawn oil print that they used to define the color. And in terms of the Jane standing out, you can almost because of the floorboards, you can kind of see that these three all make one dancer as a background, and then Jane is coming out from the line, standing out in center stage. Can you see that from this version?
Mhm.
I mean, do you interpret it like that? All of these women, their faces are obscured. Their hats are all the same. The dresses are all the same. The legs are all the same. So he took the silhouetted foot from the photo and then repeated it those 3 times. So that's the impact. And then you have both of Jane's legs, in her kind of principal dancing mode. And again, I might even do this myself, just to try it out. These 3 dancers, move them so this girl occupies this left-hand corner, and then move Jane all the way to the front and make her larger. Make her this. You enter into the picture, and because this figure is so large and the leg is so defined, I mean, it's hard to see anything because of how awesome, this figure is, because you enter into the picture this way and everything radiates out. So it's like you go through the dancers to get to Jane, but the dancers are so captivating that by the time you get all the way up here, Jane's figure doesn't stand out enough. So let's go back to this moment. And I think he's trying to get her portrait to stand out. This is where he's at least beginning to repeat the legs. So this is the sketch of this one, and I don't know why this last one. I think maybe he was skipping over, but Jane gets even smaller. So this is where you can kind of begin to see how each one of these dancers is linked, through a gestural arc. So there's a spring, a series of radiating lines that come from back here at Jane and then radiate forward, through the legs, through the collars, through the face, through the brim of the hat, and then through the flowers on the hat themselves. And these are all 3 of these figures are linked up through this like sprouting. And then Jane is separate from that, the threads that are bringing them all together. And let's see the piece that's in question. Here we go. Okay, so
She stands out more here because
she really
looks
does.
separate. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's separate, but her dress, this tangent that brings the thread of all of these ruffles comes up, and then these 3 are all at the same angle, and then Jane's tilts forward, and then she's got another one. So her stand leg is in conjunction with these 3 kicked legs, and then her kicked leg is in opposition to those kick legs. So that's, so she's able, you know, she does, you know, read as the principal dancer in this one, and you get to see both of her arms, both of her legs, and she's got but like, I don't know, like I said, like this girl just really does stand out. I love the three expressions. You know, this woman is stern, this woman is like amused, confronting the viewer, and then this woman is almost anonymous, but like, you know, let's just see what the mood is in the photo, because I think, yeah, he really finds the face. Look how
Yeah.
happy she is here. So she's stern, she's a little bit rounder, and amused, and then she is like, you know, like smiley and lean. So you kind of have this contrast in there. Let's see what Jane's face looks like here. Not particularly,
Not,
you know,
not great.
not great, no. Now let's see their faces in the photo. So they does it, you know, I feel like Jane looks a little cynical here. She's like, "Ugh." Now she is genuinely happy, and I love the spirit behind this. You know, her head is tilted back. She's, you know, almost looking down at us because she's leaning back, and then her head is also tilted back. Out of this arrangement, I mean, she becomes the principal, you know, as far as the faces go. Now this one has and maybe it's her outfit and maybe it's her character. She may be kind of like an older, sterner personality type. I'm sure each one of the dancers has a kind of persona that was probably very comical. And, you know, without having seen the show and not knowing what they were joking about, I mean, I'm sure each one of their personalities was able to be on display at some level during this performance. Now, look at, I didn't realize we could zoom in, but, oh, do you think this is ruffles? Or I keep seeing flowers, but I think so I'm looking
No,
at the ruffles
I think
down
it's
here for
fabric.
Jane. Yeah, this
Yeah.
has got to be her ruffles. And then you can see it's also all washed out. So let's see if we can figure out more about what's going on with the painting sketch. See if Lautrec can teach us more. This is where we do get this, the counter position. This is where we're really seeing Jane's legs fresh, because, like, you know, this leg is in the photo, Jane's leg is consistent with all of the other, except for hers. Ooh, that's interesting. So hers is a vertical. This is at an angle, this is at an angle, this is at an angle. So you get three of a kind and then one anomalous. So then he switches it where you get three of a kind and then one anomalous. So that's where he's taking, you know, this is like artistic, you know, this is an artistic license. It's so interesting. We're seeing the top of this hat, we're seeing the underside of this hat, and we're seeing the top of this hat, and then we're seeing the underside of this hat, you know, once again. So it's
Yes.
down, under, above, under, above, and then under again. And I'm curious if that is true. You're clearly seeing the underside of hers. You know, maybe here, maybe here. Definitely, you know, the angle and the sternness of this character, the angle of the brow of the hat brim does need to be stiff. And I do like that this, you can see a little bit under there, but her hair gets kind of washed out into the underside of that. We haven't considered figure to ground relationship or areas of highest contrast, but, you know, there is a division here. I mean, these are, you know, there's a much darker background for these ladies than the light background on that side.
You know, it's almost as though in the photograph, as you said,
Mhm.
at that time, they had to stand still for a long time for the picture, otherwise it would be blurry. So they're kind of
Right.
tired, they're kind of whatever. But he himself has seen the show many times. And so when he paints it, he paints his memory of the 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 the, the happy flowing dance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why he's so, I mean, he's like, he is the artist to have done this, you know. So I envision, you know, if I were to approach this topic, you know, he has the photo as the reference, but then he has the, you know, he has the spirit of the show in his mind, and he probably
Yeah.
did drawing, you know, some sketches from the actual performance to see what, you know, to see what she was doing. I mean, I love how the, you know, this elbow, see how this elbow is kicked out, like, you know how you can take those ruffles and you can, like, you know, throw them, you know, really move them around and get a lot of movement. Some of these gestures, and this drawing would be, you know, might even be like a really good place to start.
Is that what we're going to do this one?
Well, I don't know. I mean, but then this is the final, and you know, this one is so good. This one is so good too. And what I love about this is that you can really get in and see how Lautrec had to draw the paint strokes. That's just what I love about these. What I love about these lithos is that you start from a photo. Oh, excuse me. You start from this photo and a memory and maybe some sketches, and then he makes the painting. And you know, this is not the most ideal. You know, this is just a very small photo printed in, you know, in that book. That looks like even like a dimple right there. I wonder if she gets a dimple. And to go from the painting sketch into, oh, okay, and then I want to analyze the relationship between the painting and the ultimate litho. Jeez, I can't. I feel so bad. Like her eyes look like they're half open. I mean, that is just like not. I mean, and it must have been a funny joke. I don't know. Is that a dimple right there? She may get a dimple.
She was in a bad mood that one. Maybe they
I
were
know.
laughing at her for something.
And I mean, she's got at least she's got somewhat of a smile, you know, indicating, and the the subtlety of the placement of these things is, you know, it's wild, because when you think about Lautrec, I mean, it's not like it's what he leaves out, and that's what I've been kind of talking about so much. I mean, there's this little dash for the top of the bridge of the nose, and then you get the ball of the nose into the nostril, you know, this upper lip and the lower lip, and how, you know, look at the profile here. I mean, you get the I'll do it from the outside. You know, you get the sausage leading into the cheekbone, and then that cheekbone leads into the fleshy part of the cheek, and then that fleshy part transitions into the jawline and then into the chin, and then this line is defined by the double chin, you know, into the jawline leading up to the ear. You know, every mark is a defined, nameable expression. It's just the marks are so uniquely, drawing the line, I guess, is what I keep talking about. You know, this brush that goes from thin to thick to thin to thick. Yeah, and it just keeps going on that, you know, that ruffle. I mean, it's what we just did. All these playful strokes. And let's look at these. Like, I mean, we could spend the class just. I mean, we probably should. I mean, it depends, because it depends on how much time we have. I mean, we could draw each one of these. And just this leg is just spectacular. Seeing the underside, you know, the lit, you know, the stage light, because Degas would always, you know, all these guys, the stage lights are along here. You know, so it's, you know, a lot of the lighting was at the front of the stage looking up. You know, and lighting, you know, you can imagine like all of these ruffles would be lit up, and then, you know, this heel would be typically in shadow, but because the lights are coming from below, it gets lit up, and like that little orange note is just like to die for.
You know, on Victorian stages, I think the lights were lined up at the bottom front of the stage, right? Yeah.
And you can, yeah, I mean, and a lot of the, you know, some of the famous Degas sculptures, there's Degas paintings. It was fascinating because it altered the reality, because we're used to seeing light from up above, whether it be the sun or artificial lights. You know, it comes from above, and we're used to seeing shadow arrangements that down planes are in shadow and up planes are in light. And you can just see my hand, you know, my palm is in shadow, and you know the light, and the top of my hand is light. And if you once you flip the script, you know, if I can't really do it with I was gonna hopefully the when you flip it, it becomes it changes people's familiarity, and it creates another dimension, another realm. And you know, it becomes the stage, you know, and the stage has its own defining lighting arrangement.
So do you want to do one girl, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should. The question is whether we should do, you know, should we draw, and then hold on, let me just show you this other one. So that's what I loved about this picture. This is where I really got to see a really beautiful, you know, a unique rendering of that foot, and you can see the inside of that heel. And then look at that. Look at this collar. And look at this long neck with all those ruffles. Yeah. And then, you know, that, you know, that huge collar and all those ruffles. Oh man, he's a trip. Okay, so I think we should draw the principal dance. I think we should draw our first girl. And then I think we should try to should we try to draw her 3 ways? You know, we've got 4 versions. We've got our the photo, and she actually does turn up kind of nicely in the photo. And then we have the oil sketch, and then we have the print artist proof, which might be interesting to see what that variation is. And then we have, you know, the final, you know, the actual poster. Let me see if I can go like this. Oops, sorry. And then I think it'll move. It'll move quick. The question is whether we have. That's good. Let's see the top and bottom. Let's see if I can make my screen a little bit larger so I can actually see it. She's nice and that's straight. All right. Let me we can see this, right? We'll zoom in. We'll get the hole. We'll zoom in at the face. We'll zoom in at the leg, and then we'll just like quickly move on. And we'll see how each version is executed. I think we're gonna win. I really think it's gonna be a positive experience. Let me run downstairs real quick, and then you guys can actually start if you want. You know what's going on.
No, we don't.
I don't think so.
Actually, I'm going to open the door for Banjo to go out too.
Well, he bails. I didn't go anywhere. Oh man, I'm scared. Not really. A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit scared. I might try to put this light back on so you can see my sketch. Okay, we'll find the right setting. Oh, all right.
First mark.
So I think I love this angle, this vector of the dress. And I think it looks like he's making a kind of an ellipse because of the it's the whole realm that's underneath. We've got this calf muscle. Use an oval. It's going to pinch in an hourglass, and then her toe. When you point your toe, that your ankle seems like it comes forward, and then you have the ankle that bulges forward. You have the arc of your foot that goes forward, and then your toes that point out. With this heel that's underneath. All right. Build these straight lines, and then that is coming out of almost like a crease of ruffles. Now we can use his little jagged white marks. Looks like there's some indications of a ruffle here. The rounded portion, more ruffles. I like it's like an oblong donut or something. All right, so we'll come back. Let's see, we've got our torso of our lady. It's going to be a very narrow, and it pinches in at the waist. We've got the waist. And then not much of a bust, but we do have the indications of what looks like almost like a ribbon tied around her neck. And then that oval, we have an oval around the collar. So in the way that the leg is kind of coming out of the underside of the dress, we get this torso, and then her face is like almost being squirted out of the fountain of the collar.
Is she kind of leaning forward, or what is she doing?
She's very much leaning forward. Yeah, this head is tilted forward. I think I was going to zoom in on the face, but you look at the angle of her brows, which are stern. The angle of her nose kind of tilts forward, and then the profile of her face is definitely angled forward. And then same with the angle of the hat. So the hat is like a figure 8. So you're going to have the brim, and then it's going to curl under itself as well. And then also the top of the hat, the little square of the hat, that angling forward. Again, really, this thing really makes the head tilt forward. Wonderful. We'll get some bangs on this side. The side of the face is defined by her jawline, and then the hair. The hair coming from the side, and then her hair wraps around, and almost blends. Almost in terms of value, in terms of its tone, kind of blends into the collar. He shades the collar. Now, in the other pieces that we've seen, this neck is like almost inhuman in terms of its length, and that is and it's showing up here because when you follow the the clusters of the ruffles in the collar, it dips down, and then this is where we get to see the attachment of the arms and the sleeves to the torso. And my goodness, they are plenty, they are big. A little puff on this side and some ruffles down there. We're not seeing much of her arm at all. We're going to be able to punch our darks, don't worry. And the placement of my knee looks like it's not even in the right place, but I'm definitely okay with this. This is like practically a warm up. I mean, it's been so long, we've been talking for so long. I'm seeing like this. I'm not seeing it as in. So this is the other interesting thing, and Lautrec does this all the time, and great artists do this all the time. And you can see it last week with the shin guards, but also in other fashion. It was a different class. Doesn't matter. The way that this fabric comes up into the knee, it's not a knee, but if you draw it like a knee, transitioning into the tibia, into the, you see how that's a knee up here? It's not a knee, but it is. It's a thigh transitioning into the knee. So he allows for the connection of the thigh is here. So yes, it's fabric, but it's also human anatomy. And so he's thinking fabric, but he's also using, since he's working from invention, he wants that knee to be up high. It can't be a literal knee, so he makes it into fabric. And the amazingness of the, you can go downstairs, Bales. I know you don't, no, he's thirsty. I don't need to take him out. And then this leg comes all the way across and then turns the corner down here. Looks like some little paint strokes at the base, looking like the ruffles and the movement. Okay, so here's this sketch, and I don't see any hands or arms in here, but the ruffles of her sleeve come up really high. Let me zoom in on the face so we can at least place some some expression. There's this intense shadow. Just use an L for the nose. It's just an L. And then he gives us the shadow underneath. And then there's the little arrow for the Cupid's bow. And then it frowns into the corner of the mouth. Chin. Long brow ridge. Long eyebrows. And then just a little indication of the eyes in the lower lid. Upper eyelid, lower eyelid, eyebrows on the other side. He gives us the cheekbone, gives us the fleshy part of the cheek, and then it angles into the chin. It doesn't really. This is a sketch. He's trying to feel it out. So we've got bangs on this side. Whatever yours looks like doesn't have to. I mean, it's as much of an interpretation as his is. And with the angle, with the zoomed in, I can kind of see this hat a little bit better. See the dark ruffles. And I'm making everything too large because I zoomed in. My original perspective changed, but this is an exploratory sketch. Zoom back out again. I don't think I've really forgotten anything. I think my last little like expression here. I think I'm going to go through and punch my darks, and Lord knows I did enough in the face. We've got a inside of the sleeve, which is dark. We got a slightly lighter indication of the rib cage into the waist. Bottom of the rib cage, and that transition into the waist. The top of the sleeves, and then some darker lines for the calf muscle. Very narrow ankles. There's the painting Lautrec did at the Philadelphia Museum of Art of the Moulin Rouge, and there's a dancer. They call them like rubber band legs, whatever you say in French, and he gives this guy essentially horse legs, and he does these marches and these like gallops. So I think also knowing, I go up, I'll zoom out a little bit, but it is good to know where the bottom of the picture is. So the heel comes here, and then my bottom is like almost exactly at the bottom. Mhm. When I was downstairs, I was thinking, should we draw these as units? When I say units, I'm thinking, should we draw each of the dancers, you know, as like it's one monster?
I did leave room to the left.
Okay, you did or did not?
Did not leave room to the left.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to switch over now to the this is the our other dancer, which is actually way closer to the original. So maybe let's not do this one. Let's do the should we attempt to draw her, or is that going to be too much info? All right, so we'll have a sketch sheet, and then we'll have a real sheet. How does that sound?
Okay.
So I think we should switch over to this one. So we'll in each one we'll sketch we'll do the oil sketch, because that's how it began. So we'll sketch her next, not next, but like we'll do a quick gesture of each of the oil sketch, and then we'll come back to the the real piece. I do love this painting, this drawing. What is it? 1120. Okay. I guess we kind of have to see all of them together, don't we?
Yeah.
It's not gonna. I mean, that'll be. Let's just draw it. Let's just draw. We'll draw the component parts, and then we'll hit up each one. I think we'll be fine. Oh, that's amazing. All right. So does everybody? So this is. I think what we're gonna where we have to start, and if anybody thinks differently, there's this S curve that runs through the whole thing. You see the S curve that runs through the middle? Mm-hmm. This is the thread. This is the thread that leads from this, from all the way down from this corner through these ruffles up into Jane's knee. So it's like Jane's knee all the way back to that ruffle. So the picture will basically be divided into two parts. There's going to be an upstairs, which is the dancers, riding along this ridge. So there'll be, one dancer, two dancers, three dancers, and then a hard division right here. And that's when, that's Jane is separate, but there's this S curve that's going to run like this. And then you have everything that's below the line. So we'll have, the dress that we just drew and her angled leg. Then we're going to have this second dress, which is really two dresses in one, and they'll have each of their leg. But this is like the main form here, then this secondary form, and then this little trickle, these two dresses actually lead into Jane's. And then we'll have these two legs from Jane. So what I can tell is that there's kind of the ruffles that are above, and then there's the ruffles below. So this main S curve, honestly, the below the S curve is so interesting, but it's almost an alternate. It's an alternate world, and then the lines above. And I love that. I love that idea, how he really used that S curve to, subdivide the composition. Like just incredible. And I like that we did start at least our initial sketch with this front dancer, because she's going to be able to, we're going to be able to draw her, and then we'll be able to draw her, and then we'll be able to draw her. And there'll be large, medium, small, and then Jane will be her own entity. So let's just see how far. Let's see how far we can get. Are you all okay with me just drawing without the image on the TV?
I think so.
Okay. Because I think you should have that. You should have the reference.
What's that?
Because we have it. I mean,
Yeah, you have it. So
Right,
that's
we
okay.
have it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great. I just have to get my window that I'm working in. Look at all this real estate. Can you believe it? So,
Yeah.
what is Trevor at Mitchell School? Yeah. Listen, I'm in class. Can I call you in like 20 minutes? Or actually 35 minutes. Thank you so much. Bye. What's today's date? The 10th. Yeah. So the eclipse happened today, right?
Right.
Wasn't there's a total eclipse, I think, that happened
The
this morning.
ring of fire.
Yeah. I was considering making the journey to see it, but that did not happen. It was actually, I think it was nearly impossible with the time frame that I had. That's a long story. Anyway, that was the marina where I would have had to have rented a boat and taken it out into Lake Superior and head north enough to be able to see, to be in the totality. And I don't know what the policy is in flying to Canada at the moment, but
that's a nice short trip.
yeah. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I'm freaking out right now. Let's start with our let's just start with our S curve. And this is going to be Jane, and these are going to be our two dancers in the middle. And then there's the cascading waterfall of the first our first dress. Now, the first dress almost brings us up to the highest point. The highest point of our original S curve is between the second and the third dancer. So might be up a little bit high here. So I drop that down, get the second dancer. First dancer, second dancer, look at that hat, oh my gosh. Third dancer, and then Jane. Really unbelievable. All right, let me see if I can get situated here. So as a, as just a paper doll, I'm, just as a mock-up, I'm trying to find, all of these elements together. I wonder if do you think these are all at looking at the bottom of the dresses? What's going on with the bottom of the dresses? They almost take a staircase you know, they almost go up and then down and then up and then down and then all the way up into Jane's knee up there. That's a really kind of an interesting staircase.
Yeah.
So we have this label that's down here, which I think it's worthwhile putting in as like in just a rectangle where the lettering would occupy. The problem with what I'm doing right now is because they all have to be linked up. So you're linking all these figures together, and you have to get that relationship first before you get to do any of the individuals. And you know, in order to place the head, you got to see the whole, and everything is really ambiguous at this point. You know, it's so abstract, I guess, is the point I'm trying to make. So I'm doing, you know, I did the torso and I did the head, and I'm doing the collar as just these very simple shapes, and then there's so much movement and there's so much fabric that there's so little anatomical orientation to go off of. So I did an oval for this head and the hat and then the plumage, and I can follow this ruffle down, and then I get another head because it's so cartoony. Look at that little triangle of her cap. That's a nice one. And then we've got the plumage on her hat. Wow. The ruffles fall down, and then Jane has a torso that is a triangle, a sleeve that is a rectangle, and then a sleeve on the other side, which is a block. And then we'll do an oval for her head, and then the hat, and then her plumage. Looks like my original rectangle is going to need to be lifted. And that's why the world has erasers.
Yeah, really.
It's very gestural. There's this arm. All right, so this is the world above. And I'm going to put in, when I say a face, I mean 2 dots, an L, and a mouth. That is the face I'm going for. I don't even, because we essentially, and then maybe an ear. I think there's 2 ears. We go, that's gonna be great. Let me just slide this down in here so we can see it. We've got no ear, ear, no ear, ear, which is cool. So the part, the hats where you can see the underplane, the second one, third or fourth one, you know, the second and Jane, we actually get the ear as well. Now we get dark collar on the front, dark collar on the back. We have a pointy brim, curved brim, pointy brim, curved brim. So this is that's what's so nice about the final piece, which you get all of Lautrec's, you know, design sentiments that, you know, that this is the final version. You know, we spent a good chunk of the class analyzing the other pieces that were leading up to this, and I think that was good to do, but I'm glad that we're just doing this one because his theme and variation, you know, the legs, big, angle, all at the same angle, big, medium, small, and then the variation. So the theme and then the variation. So these 2 small legs, and the 2 small legs, I think it was his hopes that they would, because they're divergent, because they're you know, they're a variation on this theme, that they'd be able to stand out. And I think they do to a point. You know, you can actually feel her dancing in a way that's different than these girls. I think we're going to be able to find extra fun in the plumage. I have to actually draw it in order to be able to see it, but at least it's small, medium, excuse me, large, medium, small. So yeah, and then we'll be able to see what is synonymous. You know, where is there no clear separation between, you know, one figure from the other figure. And, you know, I think it happens in the sleeve here. The sleeve pours into, you know, the sleeve and the ruffles of her. I think there is a separation between these two, but I don't know what that is. I think that's actually a flopping the skirt hem. And then, but this line, you know, the silhouetted line comes from, you know, the top of this dress into the top of hers, or maybe even like her ruffle into the dress, into the waistband of Jane. So, you know, there is going to be a lost and found component where, you know, we may not exactly know. And it's the rhythm and the movement and the music and all of that is like tying them all together. It does seem like they all have the similar hair. But go back to my original point, I'm going to try to, ooh, interesting. Okay, I was going to just place the eyes, nose, mouth, and eyebrows. So eyes, nose, mouth, eyebrows, and then of course the ear. But that only happens half the time. Because this ambiguous, it's not nonsense, but these ambiguous gestures are really hard to wrap your head around unless you have something that looks like a person. And we gotta get some attempt at something looking like a person. Nose, mouth, eyebrows, eye. That collar is something else. Looks like a boa.
Yeah.
This is where her long, seemingly neck is, but I think it's actually I think it's actually like a little scarf. At this sleeve, this torso. The sleeve and torso blend in. So here you have this nice clarification between the top of the dress that seems like it has a pattern, and then the bottom of the dress, which is all ruffly. And if you run a vertical from, you know, the pit of the neck, classic French Academy, you know, the pit of the neck right here gives you the point of the stand leg, even though it's not extended. You know, the leg would never even fit into this rectangle, but he chooses to include it as a termination because it didn't feel right that it ran off. I wonder if that happened. It does. The foot here feels like an afterthought. And then, you know, he doesn't include the foot in the oil sketch. There is a mark making that he utilizes for the fabric on the dress that suggests that it's a pattern and it's not the bustle. You know, the white area is where all the ruffles are. It's amazing how when you look at the, you know, that's where all the attention is given. You know, in these dresses, like this photo and like the show, I think is all of the movement that's happening with all of that fabric, and he just minimizes it as large swaths of ambiguous white sections, and then allows that to be the backdrop for the legs. And I guess the legs are kind of the provocative part, you know, the revealing, you know, the not only the ankle, but almost up to the knee. That first hat that we drew was just so spectacular. And then he sits it out and just gives us this little, looks like a flying saucer. So there's a side of me that thinks that I may need to use my, look at this angle. Like if you look at the angle of the, oh, you can't see it. I'm looking at how to place the, you know, there's this big open shape, and it's, you know, I've got my face, I've got my collar, I've got my neck, I've got the sleeves and the torso, even the side of this figure. I got the hat and the plumage. How am I going to place this knee, this leg? And I'm looking at the vector, you know, from basically, if you take a line from the middle of the plumage, you angle that down, you know, if you find that angle, and it seems like that, no, it's not consistent like that, but maybe it does line up at the top of each one of the hats. And then if you run a horizontal from where the leg begins, it lines up with the bottom of the rib cage and, you know, basically the elbow that's underneath the sleeve. So you can run an axis that way, in the vertical and the horizontal. Come across, and I get the vector from the plumage. I can use a rectangle for the calf. I can use there almost is a change of direction, which is fascinating. You know, the shin is almost like broken.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it too large. And then instead of even the foot, it's almost like you're drawing the shoe. Not almost, I mean, you are. There's the high heel. I do want to come in. The ankles are narrow. Well, the legs are strong. See these like almost anatomically violating bulges, but they give that movement. It's a beautiful S curve, separating the leg from the bustle. And then it looks like this leg can come up even higher, the dress. I keep calling the top of the dress a leg, but in my mind it really is. These beautiful curves. I'm trying to think of the nature of the mark, even as I'm even though I'm sketching it in, I'm trying to anticipate what the final line, the final mark will be. That little foot. And I can think about these little almost like these little whiskers, little spirals, little glyphs and dots to help define the pattern. Sleeve comes all the way up, and I have a new right side of my picture. Okay. I'm trying to think about the what I'm drawing next. So as I move into the next girl, and this is actually moving pretty quickly. It's fun. I'm assuming that this transition zone it'll be shoulder to shoulder, and then this will be her ruffled collar on both ends. So I'm going to sketch this as a shoulder, and then this as a collar, a ruffled collar. And then we've got the angle of the head where her head is tilted back, where her head is leaning forward at this axis, her head is leaning back at that axis. And we've got the silhouette of her hair, the silhouette of her face defined by the hair, and then the edge of the hair defined by the hat brim. And then we have the, almost feels like, smoke from a chimney, the plumage at the top of her hair. Now we do want to kind of continue our stylized edge of the dress, defining everything below the dress. And we'll be able to, there's almost like a direct straight line linking up, the feet and certainly the knees, and it's not really the knees, it's kind of where just below the knee, the transition from, the kneecap into the tibia. It starts at the tibia. Sleeve, ruffled collar, and then the head. Chin, mouth, nose, eye, and then the hair. I always forget the eyebrows. He never does. Then we'll do the hair on the other side with the brim of the hat, which starts behind, wraps forward, and then her plumage seems to be angling up and to the left. That's interesting. I guess that follows the direction of the hat, which follows the direction of the head. Getting into my lines, which are going to be squiggles, very similar to the archaic figure that we drew. The ruffles above, the ruffles below. And then the angle of the foot. Them being the, I call them the same monster, but the faces of the second and the third dancer are so close. They feel like they're so far away because her head is so small, but they're really close. Temptingly close because I'm drawing it because it's almost like the same thing.
Yeah, they are close.
2
I
dots.
had to enlarge all my heads, and they were very small over these bigger bodies.
These squiggles that lead down into Jane's dress, spectacular. So the second and the third leg, they share the same ruffle. So there's a ruffle that comes from the outside of Jane's waist. It S curves up into our third dancer's ruffle, and then that transitions into the second girl's ruffle. It's all the same line linking up Jane with these 2 dancers. And the legs are coming out of the same, the same cluster. So I found my placement of both of my legs just with the straight lines. And I'm looking at the spacing, the large one, and then there's a little bit further distance between the first and the second, and then the second and the third are a little closer to one another, but really impressively reduced in scale. You can link up the tops, you can link up the bottoms, however you want to visualize it. It should be made up of very similar components. So the calf muscles, are actually much more blocky. Into the ankle, and then the S curve of this epic heel, S curving into the base of the foot, and then the heel of the foot versus the heel of the shoe. I guess it's important to clarify that as well. And if I'm happy with the placement, which I think I am, I can come up to get almost a little bit of the knee. Oh, that's so fun. So this ankle, this calf muscle in the back is actually rounder. The third leg might be the most elegant of them all. He probably did it in that order. He was like, nail,
Yeah,
really nailed
got
it on the third
last
one. Yeah. It's so interesting trying to mimic his style. It's just so hard.
Very hard.
Yeah, the cleanup job on this piece is going to be, it's not going to be easy. All right, there's Jane. Got her neck, her collar, her face. She's got her ear. She's got her hair and her bangs. This fantastic brim. And then the plumage up into the corner. And then speaking of third time's a charm, I think that when, if I do, and I should kind of go over this pencil sketch with pen, I'll be able to even correct my piece even further.
That actually be very nice.
What's that?
That would be very nice to go over to pen.
And I think that's the kind of the litho style. Oh, Stacy's in the house. One of the things I did not look for, well, I didn't address, was the floorboards. And there are floorboards that, radiate, that help give this radiation. Oh, hey, what's up, Stace?
Hi, everyone. Got back in time for picks.
Oh, no,
Wow.
no.
Yeah. I
Stacey,
know
it
that
was,
Grace, I had to do.
it was so hard.
This
Oh,
was
dear.
very hard.
Okay, I believe it. Was there a warm-up or was this the big shebang?
Now that we warmed up,
You did.
yeah.
Warmed up with the ruffles of the statue man, the Greek soldier.
Oh, good. I can't wait to see that as well. Is that okay, Grace?
My
Yeah, maybe.
pen is not small enough. This pen is not small enough, but I have pens that I think could be.
Oh, you're doing the pen work now? Wow.
I mean, I just wanted to get it. I just wanted you to see if it was.
Yeah, it would be nice to see how.
Is this Lautrec?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ah, I'm so proud of myself.
Looks like there's an upside down bird on this one. Wow, cool.
It's such an oxymoron that she is really covered from the neck to the toe, yet doing quite the dance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm basically ruining it because my is this a small? Oh, is this really small? Oh my god, please be small. Oh, please be it. No. Where's my micron? There they are. Man. That's it. Look at this one. Brush is so small.
Yeah.
I mean, this pen is so small. I'll be able to do it.
Oh, nice. Excuse me.
It's a little bit better. Oh God.
The legs are really so dark. Really stick out.
And I could use, and that's the thing, I can use the thicker pen for, I could have used the thicker pen for the leg. That would have been fine. I could even use a brush. That's what I should have used for this one. Now I gotta let this dry.
Excuse me. Hello? Yeah. Not that I could know of, which that would
Well, you win some, you lose some. See what happens if I erase the, hopefully the ink is dry. Erase some of the pencil.
I would check in the trunk.
Oh, that's not bad though. Yeah.
I needed to dry.
Okay, of course. I really like that for the leg and the boot or shoe or booty, that you're not marking that in with a solid black, that you're keeping that some of that white. It really, I like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Do you have the
welcome.
original, Stacy, in your email?
I do. Yeah. Thank you, Grace. Now, is the original email that poem? I didn't have time to read it, but that is not the same poem, correct? That we read before?
I don't think there was a poem today.
Okay,
No poem.
no poem.
Did I send a poem on accident?
I got a poem.
Last week, no? Or week before?
Yeah, whenever it was, but I got one today as well.
Maybe Trevor wrote you a poem.
I wrote.
Oh,
wrote-
silly me. I should have really kept my mouth shut, right?
yeah.
Now we all want poems.
Right.
Poem.
Oh, you know, in the piece, it's completely black, but I like that you didn't do that. Same with the collar or the feathers or I'm not sure what to call that.
I think it's a boa.
I've been calling it plumage.
Oh, plumage. I thought
But I don't-
plumage was only in a hat. But, you know,
right.
lo and behold, I always like to be educated.
What do you? I was talking about the hat.
Oh, I was talking about what is around her neck. And I think Grace said a boa.
Yeah, I think it is a boa.
Mm-hmm. The black and white photo is really quite something.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was. I mean, it was fun thinking about it all. I don't know how great. I don't know
Yeah.
how well
It
it's
was.
drawing. So. At least it made her happy.
Yes. Well, you know, they're working hard.
Yeah.
Show business. No business like show business.
Yeah, it was good, Trevor.
Mm,
This is fun.
it's becoming more fun.
Excuse me.
And the pen kind of, I think, might have saved the day. And I think when if I can let the ink dry, we might be on to something better. I mean, it does look so much better after I remove the pencil.
My women all look so old. And they're supposed to be young and beautiful, but they look like a bunch of old ladies.
Well, in the picture,
May I?
they don't look
May
that young in the picture, in the photograph.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be that young.
Grace, can you hold
Yeah.
that up?
What do you want to do?
Yep.
You
Could
wanna
you hold
see?
that up, please?
Oh
I
my
would
God.
like to see your warm up and your dancing females. I don't know what age they might be.
Well, the warm up was really just the ruffles on his
Ah,
down here. That's what the warm up.
and would you like to show him in his entirety?
Oh, sure, but he hasn't progressed from last week very much.
But he looks great. Thank you. And what about your dancing ladies?
Yeah. What about them?
Can we take a peek, please?
Yeah. Let me just finish one little stretch of lines. There you go.
Oh, wow. A little closer to you.
Nice, Grace.
There. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adele?
Yes.
You ladies, like, well, I have no idea what you're going to say.
Here are my ruffles.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, hold that nice and still.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Yes.
Wow, that really looks like fabric. That really looks like fabric.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Great. I know there's more.
My ladies are coming along.
Oh, wow, big.
Well, no, this is the sketch we did first.
Yeah, nice.
Just a little bit
I know the
away from you.
These are
And freeze.
yeah, Grace and
How about a
Adele, you-
skosh? Just a
you don't
skosh
need that.
down, like a
No.
skosh. Up a
I
hair.
love what you did with the feathers.
Yeah. Yes.
the,
Yeah, that's
the mood,
lovely.
the mood of each one of the dancers is like right on. You know, like the subtle tilting forward and back and straight up, and then you know, like each one of them doing their like subtle shift. Seems very, very on point
Mm-hmm.
from what I can see.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
send you a picture when it's done.
Please, yeah. Okay, cool. I mean,
Progress.
thank you, y'all, for not making something that is as bad as mine is.
No, come on. Yours is good.
Trevor, may I see your fabric?
Yes. Let me finish this one.
On the male buns of steel.
Buns of steel. Although
Yeah, that's just really how I remembered it.
yeah, he
the
really
artist.
did.
You're right.
Might not like that.
Look at Jane's little scrawny legs. So funny compared to the other ladies.
The third lady
Stay-
has a long neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I don't want to forget also my. Oh, Stacy, how do you like my new control arm? My camera arm.
Sure. It's fabulous. Although
Thank
I do see it now. I think it's really cool. That's right. Your arm is not in the picture. The tripod arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Nice to get
iPad. And the iPad is no longer. You see on the screen. There's no little icons.
Yeah, I like that very much.
Okay, let me see if I can erase what I've got for Jane, and then I'll show you my. Pray that this is dry.
You know, when I darkened their hair a bit, it
Mhm.
somehow balanced the picture out a little better because the legs don't look so black anymore. See?
Can you hold that a little closer to you? Yep, 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 and freeze. Thank you.
See how the
You
top
dark,
looks
oh, yeah, yeah.
a little
I
better
see
than,
that.
yeah, that less washed out somehow.
That's why I put a little tortillion gray into the
The
plumage.
plumes, yes, that's
So
really
there's
good.
a bit
Mhm.
more there, there's a bit more life in the upstairs. I like the way you stated that, Trevor, that the downstairs is sort of white where all the ruffles are and the feet, the legs, and then the upstairs is the upper torsos. And by putting more detail in the in the upstairs, it enhances that contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do something crazy right now, which is in line with what you're saying. I'm just gonna like, because not with the hair necessarily, but this like monochromatic background, just like that yellow
Mhm.
is so yeah, and that will allow, I think, the gray of the in the plumage to be able to stand out as well.
Now, in this yellow background, is the foreground a little bit lighter than the background? Does it graduate from like lighter to darker? That's how I'm reading it.
I don't know, possibly. Jane is not
The
really.
scale change.
Yeah, it gets darker or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like crazy. This background is crazy. I can't believe he did it.
Grace, you would love that. The gradation, is that the word I want, Trevor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the the lighter to the darker, like with that we love with the
Yeah.
graphite.
Yeah, the transitions.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, how much it changes it, the color.
Yeah, and I'm totally stealing the gray. You need the hat. It's amazing the subtlety of how the plumage quiets down. The hats just go right into place when gray is on there.
And the opposite of that in the foreground, the lighter yellow against the really dark leg and shoe, and the deeper yellow in the background against the lighter plumage and faces.
We need orange for their hair, right?
Yeah, they have orange hair.
Yeah, well, they all have orange hair.
I know. Do you think they're wigs?
It could be.
Doubt it. These are wigs.
Imagine how hot they must be and all those layers and the wig. Whew, dancing.
Yeah, and the hat and the weight of the dresses and the right.
Yeah.
Are there any other colors besides the orange and the yellow?
Which I wouldn't think would work in a million years.
I would have put orange on the far side of her hair. Let's see, James is like that.
And kept what part of the hair? What would you do with the
I'm
other?
just thinking, like, I might even do it right now. Let's put a little orange note on that
Oh,
far
I
side.
see. I see. Like he did on the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, this works. I mean, I think it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think he used a ruler for the straight edge?
Hard to tell.
Yeah. And he doesn't use a line to separate the background, but I feel like it needs it. Let's use a graphite line, not a pen line. Took a little extra, but not that much. I mean, if you consider like how it's just like, we did this in what, 2 hours? I mean, that's crazy. Not
Yeah.
even. I mean, I think it was an hour. I think it was like almost 11 by the time we started.
Yeah.
This looks so hard to make.
I mean, we did a lot of jabbing. I mean, we spent a long time looking at what the heck was going on, because it was, helpful. But
I need to get going, but this was fun.
Good. Can will you send me a picture of wherever you're at? I mean, I know
Yeah.
we'd seen it, but I hadn't really seen it. I mean, I saw that it was great, and that it was, and I noticed yours didn't have a rectangle, which might be good. I don't know. But if I could just see it for where it's at, and then you can send me another one if you finish it, but just for my own.
I don't think I'm going to do too much more on it. So, okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Grace.
And I guess.
Take care, Grace.
Thanks. I guess you'll decide about summer classes and send an email
Yeah,
out.
for the moment, let's go. Let's just say that we're on for next week, and then I'll send an email out to everybody.
Okay, and I'll remind you next week that I won't be here next week.
You're not here next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well then.
Alrighty. Thanks.
All right. We'll send out an
Bye.
email anyway. All right.
Yeah.
See you, Grace.
Take care, Grace.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, Stacy, here's my. Oh no, that's not even it. That was the sketch. She looks great there. Better than
Oh,
that.
wait, what am I missing? Oh, Adele. Hold on. What am I? This is Trevor.
This is
Hold
mine.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love the sketch. Wow.
This is from his oil version.
Mm-hmm.
And then let me move.
Can you square that one that just went away? Oh, wow. I remember that. And the thank you. Buns coming up.
Buns O Steel. Is that good? Did you get it?
No, I don't see it at all. I just see the drapery, the draping.
That's all we did.
Switch to screen. Oh, yeah, I just see the draping.
That's all. That was the warm up.
You
That's all
do-
we did.
Oh, okay. Adele, how are you doing?
Fine. I'm just getting the last.
Sure.
I'm going to stop
Okay,
the share.
Yeah, I'm going to send you a better picture. With-
Yeah, but let me.
Okay, back just a little bit, Adele. Down a hair.
God,
Very
so
good.
So
So
fun.
nice.
Yeah, this was really
Yeah.
fun.
And the movement on the very last one with the neck over to the side is really, she's moving.
Yeah, how he got this idea
Yeah.
and then realized that he's a good guy.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
You're
So we'll just
welcome.
wait to hear what you do for next week, because I mean, if people are away, you might want to just skip next week. I don't know.
So yeah, what we might do is maybe we'll take a 2-week break because maybe I'm thinking maybe start up again after the 4th of July. Give everybody a little break time and then we'll start the new term after the 4th. Because I'm not, or maybe not that far. So my schedule is I'm here next week, but you know, and then we'll see if anybody else is down. And then the week after that, I'm away. And then I'm back the next week. And then I'm off the next week after that. So I'm like every other week until the 4th.
Well, you know,
I'll talk to Kristen. We'll figure it out, and then I'll send you an update. But let's just, for the record, let's just be on for next week. And yeah, we'll just say we have class next week because I'm here, and I want to give Max an opportunity to teach anyway. So I think it'll be good for him by Wednesday, and then I'll be able to do some, you know, adult things in our class I enjoy, especially with with this group. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.